Hello, how's it going, everyone? My name is Bouaichi. I'll be going over the Lakeforest Mall analysis for the Foundations of Real Estate Markets course here at Georgetown University for the fall 2019 semester. Looking here at the executive summary, this presentation will touch on the shifting dynamics in the office market space in the Gaithersburg market. We will also go over the shifting dynamics in the residential market, as well as touch on the shifting dynamics in the retail market and ultimately the mixed-use development feasibility at this site. We'll touch briefly on a site overview, just give a high-level overview of the site as it currently exists. We'll also delve into a residential market analysis, which will help support our recommendations for a mixed-use development at the site. We'll also go over a retail market analysis and finish off with a mixed-use market analysis to see any impacts that this type of development would have at the site. Looking at the site overview, Lakeforest Mall is located at 701 Russell Avenue in Gaithersburg, Maryland. That is a suburb that's located about 20 miles north of the nation's capital and about 1.5 miles from the I-270 interstate, which serves most of Montgomery County and leads all the way up to Frederick County. And that's about 10 or 15 minutes, rather 10 or 15 miles north of Gaithersburg. There is a MARC train stop that's located also within 1.5 miles, and that provides easy accessibility to DC, as well as other transit options for residents to get around and do shopping if they choose to do so. The site is currently zoned for commercial use. It's about 92 acres. The current use, as it currently stands, is a mall. It has or had about 95 stores, a food court. It was anchored by Macy's as well as Sears. And due to the shifting dynamics with the retail space, the property has continued to suffer even before and after the recession. The primary trade area for the site is pretty sizable. You have I-270, which bounds to the west, and this primary trade area is about 10 or 15 minutes from the site. In this primary trade area, you'll find the target consumers due to its proximity to the site, and that will essentially bring in the necessary foot traffic to make this mixed-use development successful. Going on to the secondary trade area, that's located about 13 minutes or about 20 miles from the site. And that area pretty much encompasses Clarksburg to the north, as well as Frederick. You also have Germantown to the west, Rockville to the south, and Olney to the east. This secondary trade area is also served by I-270, but pretty much expands out to other parts of Montgomery County. The majority of the consumers that you'll have coming from the secondary trade area are primarily going to come to the site because it will offer them a mix of stores that are at various price points, and that's usually something that could not be found in their primary trade area, which gives them the opportunity to go well beyond that secondary trade area. Touching briefly on the demographics of the primary trade area, it has seen consistent growth over the past 5 years, on average, there's been a 6% increase. We saw about 84, the population go from about 84,000 to 90,000, which is pretty much an additional 6,000 residents and 2,000 households that were that made the primary trade area home. Over the next couple of years, we expect to continue to see population grow by a modest 6% between 2015 and 2020. And at the end of 2020, we expect approximately 95,000 residents. And that's pretty much in line with growth that was seen between the early 2000s to like 2010. Household size in Gaithersburg is pretty mixed. We have about 25% of households being a single person, about 27% that are two persons, and 48% that are three or more. In addition, there is a diverse age range of individuals living in the area. The median age was calculated at 36, with a mix of ages, but predominantly in that middle age range. Continuing on, the area is pretty diverse. About 42% of the residents in the primary trade area classify as white, 21% classify as black or African American, 17% classify as Asian, and 15% classify as some other race, or one or two more races. Moving on to information on average median income. It's well above other counties in the DMV area. In Gaithersburg, we see average median household income ranging between 90K to 96K per year. And that corresponds to 80% to 100% AMI, average median income. About half of the residents in the primary trade area make above 75,000, with only a fraction living below the poverty line. As you'll see later in the presentation, we are going to make recommendations for housing options that are affordable to low and moderate income individuals. That still continues to be a problem in the US, and we hope to target that and somewhat alleviate the pressures that these individuals are facing. All right, moving on to the residential market analysis. This is a pretty healthy residential market. We have pretty low vacancy rates in the primary trade area. There is a lot of demand for smaller studio and one-bedroom units, and that's just due to the increase of millennials and baby boomers that are living in the area. In addition, as I mentioned previously, a majority of the households are either single person or 2 to 3 person households. In addition, I mentioned this earlier, but there is a lack of affordability for low and moderate income individuals, and this project seeks to help alleviate those pressures and offer some living options that are affordable, not just at market rent, but affordable for low and moderate income individuals. As I've mentioned, there are very, very strong fundamentals that would support a mixed-use development. These mixed-use developments seem to fare well in various types of economic conditions. Due to the mix of real estate, we should expect to see a mix of synergies that will help to make this project thrive. Looking briefly at a few of the residential properties in the area, this will just give us a starting point as to what rent levels should be charged in the development. As you can see from the chart, I just selected 4 different properties that are all located within reasonable distance to the Lakeforest Mall site. There is a mix of amenities that each of these properties offers, but as you can see, rents are pretty similar across the board. You can see average rent for the first property is 1,400, and that pretty much brings us to a range of the low 1,400s to slightly below 1,600 for one of the nicer, newer properties. As you can see, there is greater demand for these 1 and 2 bedroom as well as studio units. Those will usually command a higher rent just due to the supply constraints. All right, moving on to the retail market analysis. As you can see in the analysis that I have presented here for 2015, um, there is a potential capture rate of 41% for all retail categories as of 2015. And this will be a mix of NGNS, F&B, as well as GAFO. As expected, NGNS has the highest potential capture rate. This figure is derived from the total sales for the category divided by the aggregate expenditures for the year, as seen above in the top portion of the chart. As I mentioned previously, the average household income for the area is slightly above the median area income. And with these income levels, we should expect to see further support for a higher end mixed use development with boutique shops and such. And again, let me just reiterate, there will be a certain amount of units available for individuals that are low to moderate income. All right, moving on to look at 2020. Overall, there is no estimated or projected decrease in the total household expenditures for the year. We do see average median income increase as well as population size, which will further support a mixed-use development. Again, we don't see a decrease in the capture rate, but we do expect it to hold steady and offer us some level of comfort in proceeding with a mixed-use development. Continuing with the retail market analysis, in my research, I saw a total of about 31 projects that, as of 2015, were either in the pipeline or were approved and located within a 5-mile radius of the Lakeforest Mall area. Only a few of the handful are retail projects, which will obviously capture some of the demand that we calculated for the potential capture rate. But a majority of the projects that are in the pipeline or in the works are residential. And as we can see, there is very strong demand for residential, like apartment units, just due to the area's proximity to the nation's capital, as well as offering benefits such as a decent school system for those individuals with kids, and then easy accessibility to downtown DC. It's maybe a solid 25 to 30-minute drive, but definitely not as far as other suburban areas. All right, moving on to the final recommendations. I am proposing the Rio Grande mixed-use development. This mixed-use development project will contain a mix of residential, retail, and commercial office space. As seen over the duration of the course, these mixed-use development projects tend to fare well in all types of economic conditions. Just the synergies that are usually contained within different real estate types, we shouldn't really expect to see the project hindered by, let's say, a recession or a slowdown in economic growth. Um, we expect to anchor the development with two anchor stores, something similar to, say, Target, Walmart, maybe even something similar to a Costco or a Sam's Club. The residential component of the project will consist mainly of apartments at market rent. Um, we will offer about 10 or 15% of the units. They will be subsidized for low to moderate income individuals. And lastly, the office space that we hope to have within this mixed use development will be very configurable. It'll be a Class A office space, very open and modern, and again, very configurable to what employers see best fit for their company and their employees. Um, there is, while there are elevated vacancy rates in the office space, we do expect to capture 20% of the unmet need in the Class A office space. As seen in my research over the duration of the course, a big chunk of the vacancy is attributed to Class B and C office space. Most of these properties are coming to the end of their useful life and will probably be taken offline in the next couple of years. That is all that I have for the Lakeforest Mall analysis. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and thank you for a great semester.